Welcome back to my channel. I am really excited for this video today because there's just a lot going on in the world, to be honest, and I'm just here to be a safe space and an education space for people who are either you work from home or work in general or don't work, etc. There's a lot going on in our daily lives and a lot of different stressors and stuff like that coming to surface. To be honest, my channel is going to be like a mixture of spiritual and real life scenarios based on my life and how I view life, because I realized that everything is connected. Because at first I looked at everything as from a spiritual standpoint, but then I realized it's also still possible to be able to connect it to real life and how I used to live life, etc. The same concepts were there, but because spirituality was new to me, it kind of, what do you call that? It kind of made me shut off the physical part of my brain and not understanding things from a realistic perspective, basically. And I feel like that is a lot of things that people go through. They call it well, there's more severe cases that are called what is it called, psychosis or something, but it wasn't quite psychosis. It was just I learned all these new things about spirituality, and I just kind of was in hermit mode because I didn't know how to ground myself and understand it based on the life that I was currently living, if that even makes sense. But basically this video is going to be about how to get rid of negativity altogether, because I feel the word negativity and it goes with the same thing as good and evil, or good or bad or whatever. And once you realize that everything's neutral until you give it a meaning, I feel that's the main thing that people are just not understanding. And it's okay if you don't get it, because obviously people, there's levels of life that you have to go through to even understand some information. That's why sometimes later in life people can come up later, whether it's a 20-year-old learn the lesson of transmutation of negativity, versus someone who was just stuck in their ways and they didn't understand it until they were 45 or 50 or whatever. Everybody is on their journey, so it's definitely a good thing to never compare yourself to other people, because I feel that is that's the quickest way to limit yourself, because you can't go based off of someone else's journey. You can only go based off of your own journey. And basically, to go back to the good and bad that people refer to, I believe that everything is inherently neutral until you give it a meaning. So when people say that people are demonic and negativity, it's because you gave it that meaning. If somebody says something mean to you and you said, oh, that person's a narcissist, oh, that person's evil, another person can say, or they can just react back to that person. Say if I don't know, someone that you think is evil or bad, or I don't know, does weird stuff, let's just use the very most spiritual thing that you could possibly think of, witchcraft and hexes and curses, etc. Let's just dive deep in real quick. So before I learned about spirituality, I didn't know about spell work and people can do spells and stuff like that. I didn't know anything about that. I was what What do you mean people do curses and hexes on people? I don't understand. Like, it literally did not register into my brain because that's not what I believed in. So, like, say if a person who was raised spiritually doing all these different rituals and cleansings and stuff like that, I'm not saying it's like good or bad. I'm just saying that, like, my upbringing versus like someone else's. Like, I didn't grow up believing that. I grew up in like a Christian home, and like, I just like, I don't know, I was just living life. And then like I met this friend, and then like it was when it was during COVID, and like everybody was like knowing, getting to know spirituality and stuff like that. And so like I feel whenever you're introduced to that life, you kind of like try to switch your entire personality into that. And I feel like that's where like the mismatch and the misunderstandings, come through. Anyway, just to backtrack back to like the good and bad. Say if, there's a witch or whoever, a witchy girl who, does hexes on people, etc. And you think she's evil and bad and she's going to hell or whatever. That is like negativity to most people, or like evil or the devil. But from my standpoint, I'm just like, that doesn't exist. So it didn't affect me mentally because it didn't exist in my mind. And that is just the other side of transmutation, aka like my reality. Like, it just didn't resonate in my reality, so it had no effect on me. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, whenever I got introduced to spirituality, like, I bought sage and all these different things because I thought that, like, things were out to get me, or like, this whole new world that I didn't know about, like the unseen world or whatever. Like, I got all of those different types of things because that's what I thought was like spirituality or whatever, and what would protect me. But technically, I could have just used like the Bible or like the Quran and just say my prayers every day, and that could be like a different type of cleansing. Like, it doesn't matter what culture you're in, all of the practices are based on the same thing. That's why, like, now I'm a spiritual free agent. I don't believe in just spirituality, just religion, just this culture, that culture. Like, I don't believe in just that. I use the different things that I've learned to work it in my favor. And now I'm at a point where like I just believe that things work out for me, and that's literally how it works. Because if you've ever experienced negative things in your life, like, say if you had a cup in your hand and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna spill this cup on me, and then 10 minutes later you pick the cup up again and you end up spilling the whole thing on you. You literally created that reality for yourself because you believed in it. Like, let me give you a more like non in your face, well, a more in your face type of thing. Like, say if like you putting in a bet, and like on horses, and like it's a horse called John, and then it's another horse called, I don't know, Curl. And something tells you that, I should place the bet on Curl, but you're like, somebody's like in your ear and says something, you should bet on John. So you bet on John, and you didn't listen to your first mind, and then Curl, the horse, they win 10K because that horse won, and you're like, dang, I should have picked the horse Curl. And these are just things that like happen on a daily basis that you haven't realized, that like you created that with your mind. Like a lot of things we create with our mind. Like, people say that we only use 10%. I know I use more than 10% now because of the things that I have brought into my reality, but that's another video for another day. I'm just teaching you guys about how you manifest good and bad things, and nothing's necessarily good and bad. Like, this is actually a good example. Say if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're in love and like you guys are so happy together, and like you get an opportunity to go to like a great school that you've always dreamed of going to, but it requires you, you know, separating from that boyfriend girlfriend, and you know that that wouldn't work out. So you know, you thought that good thing in that good relationship was like all there was, and you were really happy. And then you got another, you know, good opportunity that like came into your life, and you had to end that to, you know, whatever. That's just like a way of like transmutation, because like you have to end something that could seemingly be bad for you, and at the same time get good out of like breaking up out of that relationship, if that makes sense. I know there's like more like complex scenarios. I'm just trying to think of like the scenarios that would best reflect the message, like. But yeah, I don't think anything is necessarily good or bad. Like, say if like a friend betrayed you and like lied to you, and you thought that she was just like, or he was just like, you know, this amazing person, couldn't do no wrong. And then that was probably like, you know, your first friendship of betrayal or whatever. And um, you didn't realize that that person whole time wanted like your position at the job. And because, you know, I don't know, there's so many different types of like situations that happen, and you've probably even seen this in your real life, and probably can think of a scenario in your real life where like stuff like this has probably happened. Like bad things happen for like good reasons. Like maybe it was like teach you a valuable lesson about something that you didn't know about. Like if I didn't like meet that friend that like, you know, taught me the things about spirituality, even though she wasn't like necessarily like a good friend, I still got a lot out of that friendship. And I feel like a lot of people like really dwell on the negative, and that's how you end up manifesting like a lot of negativity in your life and a lot of bad stuff happening. That's where really bad luck comes from. It comes from you, because you're the only person that could create that for yourself. So to say that like a person could like put a spell or a hex or like whatever on you, if you don't believe that is true for your reality, and you have like very good self-concept, that reality will never exist for you. And that's why whenever like, you know, trolls come on here and they're like saying certain things, I'm just like, that's not true for my reality, but okay. Like it's so easy for me now to just like brush things off, and I feel like that is very powerful. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people can like use this information to help elevate your life, and knowing that like everything is inherently neutral will save you a lot of like pain and heartache and stuff like that. And um yeah, like say if somebody like passed on and like you really miss them, as another example, like say that like, you know, that happened and you would have never, like there's so many movies that happen like this, like someone like dies and like it's like a messy inheritance situation, like there's like a family secret that comes out or something like that. So if that didn't happen, like you would have never found out that like, you know, the family was shady or something like that. Like there's so many things that like, you know, that's why I say like nothing's really like good or bad. It's just like it's a situation, and how you realize that situation is how it's going to continue to show up in your reality, and that is how you can get rid of negativity altogether, or that part of the scenario. That's how you can get rid of it. And the thing is, you just have to practice. And it's a very advanced level of transmutation, just knowing that, you know, everything is always going to work out in your favor. That's really like the best way. But a lot of people don't have like really high self-concept. So if you do want to work on that, definitely work on your self-concept, like how you perceive yourself, and having strong boundaries. That's why I made that boundary video first, because it goes in layers with this video. Um, But yeah, I really feel that like a lot of people really like to dwell on the past and like negative things, like watching the news and just negative stuff. They just like to be in that, and it's kind of like if you tell them that, obviously it's going to trigger them because they haven't got to the certain level of awareness that you have, and that's okay because you're not going to take it personal because you've elevated. And so yeah, like say if like somebody like betrayed you, you can honestly transmute that and be like, well, now I have more room and more time to spend time on myself, my goals, and stuff like that. And literally, like, I don't know, start a YouTube video talking about, or be a storyteller on YouTube and become, a great storyteller and make money. Like, it's literally like so many ways that you can transmute, like, quote unquote, negative things in your life or things that you don't want in your reality. Um, and laughing is definitely a quick way to transmute things. Like if people called me like, oh my gosh, she's this and she's that, I'm just like, okay. Because on the other end of the stick, it just makes them look dumb. It's just like, okay. Like, what else? Congratulations. You want a cookie? I remember that from my childhood. People used to be like, you would say something, they'd be like, dang girl, you want a cookie? Like that's how I treat like my haters and stuff. I'm like, you want a cookie? You must really want a cookie. But I just laugh it off because it's just so funny. But that is definitely, you know, where I am at now, and I feel like a lot of people could find this information useful because like it took me a really long time, and I had to revamp my page because I have like this level of perfection, and if you guys don't know, perfection just means completion. But like I had like high level of like, being like perfection, and I realized that like I didn't have any, like everything didn't need to be perfect. And so yeah, we're here. And yeah, that's just that. Look, y'all just gonna have to deal with me, okay? Because this is my page and I can do what I want on my page. So yeah, definitely I thank my subscribers for all the support despite, some, you know, complacencies, I guess I should say. But it's definitely been a journey because I remember like I used to post videos with like cards in my videos. I used to post videos about conspiracy theories. I used to post videos about so many things that I'm just like, it just wasn't in alignment to like where I'm moving. And so like it frustrated me because like I'm like an aesthetic person. If it doesn't look a certain type of way, I'm like, no, I don't like that anymore. Like that's the thing. Like people get so upset when you decide to change your mind. Like you can't change your mind. Like when people say that, like I remember I had, a couple of friends. They had like invited me out, and they were like, what did they do? They were inviting me to like some type of like event or whatever, and I was like, nah, I don't really feel like doing that. I'm not in that mood. And they were just like, come on, it's fun, and like, spontaneous things is when the best things happen. But to me, that's actually disrespectful because I told that friend that I did not like unscheduled events because that's just not how I do things. I don't do things like out of my schedule. Because I have boundaries and I care about myself and I put myself first. And she was just acting like it just wasn't a thing anymore, and I'm just like, I'm not going. I have other priorities. Like, and then everything was just dry after that, and I'm just like, that's why I say your boundaries is your protection, because it will show you people when you set those boundaries. It'll show it to you quick, fast, and you won't have to think twice about if I can trust this person. Because when you have your boundaries and you stay on them consistently, they will literally show you who they are every single time. But yeah, I am really happy that I made this video because I feel like a lot of people really, really need content like this, because I feel like people don't really, they just tell you information, but they don't tell you how, like, you know, it happened in your life and with examples. I'm the type of person that, like, if there's not like different angles of examples, like, I don't know, I like different perspectives. That's just me. I like to see it from like every single perspective before I truly believe something. Even then, sometimes I won't truly believe it. Like, it takes a lot to like sway me and like make me think something, because like I have like really high self-concept. Like, I know who I am. I know what I want out of life. So like, I feel like if you're trying to get there, you should definitely journal about it, write about it. Like, what are your boundaries? Do you even have boundaries? Do you even know who you are? Do you even know what you want to do out of life? Do you even know what you're gonna be doing 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Do you know what, you know, you want to live for? Like, do you know what you want to represent? And I feel like a lot of people don't really think about that. They just, like, you know, they live in the moment and they just live day to day and they just let days pass, which I used to be like that too. So there's no shame here. It's just, let's think bigger, you know? And that's like what that's the whole like concept of my page. Like, let's think bigger than like conspiracy theories. Let's think, how can we use these situations to work in our favor? And I feel like that is what's gonna help every single time, and it's gonna work like a charm. So definitely always be, you know, sure of yourself and who you are before you try to really do anything. Boundaries first, because when you set boundaries, you realize, you know, the people in your life and how they operate, and then it'll have like a domino effect. You'll see what I'm talking about eventually once you start doing the work and journaling. So yeah, I feel like that is everything for this video in particular. So I'll see you guys next time. I have the hiccups. I'll see you guys next time, and I hope